Let's talk Premier League. Let's talk about Manchester United defeating Leicester City on the last day of the season. A little bit hairy. Let's bring in Mark Ogden. Augie, they got the job done. I don't think we need to rehash whether they were good or bad or whatever. But, you know, some people make the point, some ex-pros, thinking Roy Keane perhaps, coming out and saying, well, you shouldn't really be celebrating qualifying for the Champions League if you're Manchester United. Is he being fair, or is he kind of missing the point that this is not the same Manchester United he played for? I mean, they play in the same stadium, they wear the same shirts, they have the same name, but it's a completely different context.
Absolutely, I think Roy Keane, his dad, is playing up to his part as the villain of the piece. Every time he says something, it's dismissive of any team's progression or anything like that. Look, this is where United are right now, and the fact that they've arrived in the top four in the last week of the season is perfect timing, I guess. But to finish third, to suggest that they're the best of the rest after City and Liverpool is remarkable, considering the season they've had. But you have to celebrate it because, for me, Man United being the Champions League, it has to be the bare minimum every year. But in recent years, it hasn't been the bare minimum because they haven't managed to do it. So, for me, Solskjaer has really reached base camp for United. It's not, they haven't arrived now by getting the Champions League. This is the platform now for which United have to build their success in again. Now, they've had a couple of false starts in that since the Ferguson era. You know, Van Gaal and Mourinho both qualified for the Champions League and both failed to use it as a springboard. So that has to be Solskjaer's job now. He has to use this as a chance to strengthen the squad in many key areas. Because look, if they'd have missed out and finished fifth and finished in the Europa League, they would have been falling and further behind City and Liverpool because it wouldn't have helped them in any way whatsoever. So Keane, for me, he's wrong. He's been over harsh, over critical as Keane is. But yes, United have to celebrate it because it's given them the chance to accelerate their development under Solskjaer, which that is another question whether he's the man to do it, but at least he's got them to where they need to be.
All right, I'm going to chuck this to you, Robbo, and then we'll get Augie on this. Wearing my Jose Mourinho hat, I'm going to say, oh, all you guys blowing smoke at Solskjaer, I finished second. Second. Number two, only one team ahead of me in the entire Premier League. And yet, I still got criticized. You talk about progression. Why weren't they progressing under me? And what's different about Solskjaer?
Because
does he have a point?
He has a slight point, and I'm not a Solskjaer fan. Over the last,
you're not a Mourinho fan either. So.
No. When Mourinho was at his height at Chelsea, I thought he was a magnificent manager. When he was at Inter Milan, I thought he was a magnificent.
Yes, the captain
coach.
Obvious. When he was winning, you like him. When he doesn't win,
but then for some reason his coaching didn't progress.
So what's different? What's different from the second place?
Because
that
the crowd or the people of Manchester like Solskjaer. They like the way he's managed the team, the way he's managed the press, all that sort of stuff. But I would still have problems. I've seen the last 4 or 5 games, and the game, the semi-final last week. Yes, he made 1 or 2 changes. The game against Southampton, the game against Crystal Palace, and the game yesterday. I'm screaming at the telly. If the opposition want to press you high up the field, you can't still play out from the back. There must be space elsewhere. And if I was a coach, I'd have been out after 5 minutes saying, bypass the midfield, get it into the front players, and we'll play from there. Then when they back off, we'll then use the centre-halves to come out with the ball, because you've got one of the best centre-halves on the ball who can come out with it in Harry Maguire. But at the moment, there were no passes on for him when he's coming out from the back. Chelsea did it brilliantly, and Solskjaer and Manchester United had no answers or no change of game plan to turn it around. I was screaming out in that game against Chelsea, stick it in behind the fullback, James, and get Rashford coming and spinning. And then you would get
Chelsea game
back.
Obviously didn't really care because they were more focused on, because they made all those changes. Augie, is Robbo being fair? I mean, can you make a case why there's more to be excited about Solskjaer finishing joint third than there is Mourinho finishing second?
Yeah, I think when Jose took United to second, it really was a great achievement by him, because that team and that squad wasn't the second best team in the Premier League. That was a classic case of a manager getting more out of the team than the team is actually worth. Now, so that's why there's no excitement there. It felt like he was dragging them along by the sheer force of his personality. I think with Solskjaer, there's a change. It's a developing team. We can see that there's potential up front with people like Greenwood and Rashford and Martial. Stewart's right. There is a lack of, I think, game intelligence in that team. They only have one way to play, and I think when they can't play that way, they're struggling. You know, they're scratching their heads as to wondering what to do. I kind of disagree on Maguire's ability in terms of bringing it out. I think every time the ball's at Maguire's feet, there's an element of kind of panic in around the stadium when it's full. Listen, I don't think he's that great at centre half. I don't think any of the centre halves are great, but Solskjaer has found a way to make this an exciting United team. But there are still lots of flaws, and there's not a lot of depth there. And I think once you get beyond that first 11, even players in the 11, we've discussed the fullbacks in the past. I still think there are weaknesses there that need addressing, and I think that being back in the Champions League at least helps them to do it. But in terms of your question about Mourinho, he got an average team punching way above its weight. Solskjaer's got a team that is promising to become a much better side, and he's done that, with young players as well, which also helps.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.